Welcome to Excel Beyond Boundaries, episode 19 with Jared Ganem, who is the lead trainer for Self Mastery for Men. Also, he helps men become their best versions of themselves and helps them take back control over their lives. So, welcome to the show, Jared.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jonathan. I appreciate you having me here.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm honored. So, taking it way back to start, where did it all begin for you? Are you from Florida?
So originally I'm from Lebanon. So I'm from Beirut, Lebanon, and I was adopted young, like right after birth, and then I came to the United States, and I've been here ever since. But yeah, I'm from Lebanon originally, came to the U.S., been here ever since, and I grew up in Massachusetts, but now I'm living in Florida.
That's amazing. I
Yeah,
never knew that about you.
yeah.
Wow, my dad is from Greece, so we're neighbors.
Oh, nice. That's pretty cool. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, small
Very
world.
similar culture, very similar, they're so close to each other, Lebanon and Greece.
Very similar, man. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what brought you to Florida?
Yeah, so what brought me to Florida was, pro wrestling, like Hulk Hogan, jumping off the top rope, all that stuff. I
Yes.
never wanted to have a normal 9 to 5 job, and so when I not retired, when I graduated from college, I was like, if I stay in the same local town that I'm in, I'm gonna be working at McDonald's, doing like the same thing everybody else does. I'm like, I had to get out now, so I took a chance on myself. I moved across the country. I had an opportunity to possibly work for WE, so I came down to Florida. That's where, so pro wrestling is like baseball in the sense where they have a minor league feeder system, and they were all in Tampa. So I came right down to Tampa out of college, tried to make a WWE, had a bunch of tryout matches in the big arenas. It was a blast. It was really cool. Learned a lot that I wouldn't have learned otherwise.
That is amazing. I did not expect that.
Yeah, yeah.
Wrestling.
It's a different way to get to Florida, man, but it was cool. And I've learned a lot that I would have not, like I told you, I wouldn't have learned anywhere else. Like the production aspect of things, understanding how things work, psychology, the way the crowd works, because it's a performance, and it's all about what they told me. And this is key. They said the best wrestler doesn't always win. It's the most marketable, the most entertaining. The wrestler with the it factor always wins, you know?
This thing.
And so think about this. When I work with men or when I coach men, they have something where they're a people pleaser, they're a nice guy, maybe they have like nice guy syndrome. They're not getting the results they want in their life, in their relationships, and things like that. And I tell them it's the same thing. I'm like, it's not that you're doing the wrong things. It's that it's the way that you're doing it, or it's the way that you're presenting yourself in some way, which is holding you back. Does that make sense?
Oh, completely. No, that's
Yeah.
fascinating. That almost reminds me of kind of off topic, but you'll see how it relates. The Gladiator, the movie The Gladiator. How they wanted him to be, put on a show and in a sense and have that I don't want to say it factor, but the presentation. Like,
With Russell Crowe,
yes.
it's a phenomenal movie. It's great.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
definitely. It kind of correlates a little bit, right?
You know what I like that there's a movie Cinderella Man that he was in too. You ever see Cinderella Man?
No, I haven't.
If you guys listening at home haven't heard or haven't watched Cinderella Man, it's a really good one. He's a boxer during the Great Depression era, and he loses everything, right? Like he breaks his hand, he can't do anything anymore. He can't make money, and because his hand is broken, he can't do the food line, so he can't make money for his children. And so they didn't have electricity back then, but they like took all of his belongings and they kind of took his kids away from him. And it was a real underdog story. And it was about him digging down deep and having to fight his way back. And he ended up like winning the championship despite the odds. It's a really inspiring movie. And so there were moments in my life where I felt down and out. I would enjoy watching that movie. And I think it's a really good movie for anybody here to watch. It's Russell Crowe and Gladiator. It's like a rags to riches comeback story, literally Cinderella story.
I'm gonna check that out. That sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
it's a really good one.
Man, no, I'm glad you said that. So after the wrestling, what was the next chapter for you?
So here's the thing, like most guys in life, they have a purpose in life where they know, but their purpose in life, it's tied to an occupation or it's tied to an identity. So when you're a wrestler, you're not doing wrestling. You say what? You say, I am a wrestler. Or if you're, a husband or something, I am a husband. Or if you have an occupation, I am this or I am that. Or I've worked with NFL players before. I am a football player. The problem is when you lose the occupation, when you lose the thing, you don't have a purpose anymore and you don't have an identity anymore. And those are the top two things keeping somebody going is your sense of self and what direction you're going in. And when you lose those things, it's like, what the heck am I doing? And it's real easy to hit rock bottom. I didn't hit rock bottom right away. That happened a few years later, but I was trying to find myself, and So my aunt, she had all these personal development CDs. Is like, so she gave them to me, but they were in her trunk for a long time. So she gave me like Tony Robbins CD 5 track 2 or something like that. And
Uh,
it was just something random, and I put it in. It wasn't even the full set, but I'm listening to this guy, and it was like right place, right time. It's like the guy's talking to me, and it was, when is it okay to give up on your dream? And I'm like, okay, I'm listening. What is this? What does he have to say here? And he goes, the thing that you're wanting to do, the dream that you have, or the occupation, whatever, you don't want the thing. You want what the thing's going to provide for you. It's going to give you a sense of certainty or safety or significance or some type of stability, or if like an actor or something, to give you fame, notoriety. He's like, or to grow. Even some people, they want to do stuff to grow and contribute. They use their fame, they give back to the community, right? He's like, the thing that you want to do is because you're trying to meet these needs. So he goes, if you can find a way that meets the same thing that the vehicle was meeting, you'll have the same level of fulfillment and you won't need the thing. And I go, that's really interesting. So I go, well, what was it about wrestling that I wanted? And I liked the fact that it wasn't a 9 to 5 desk job. It wasn't something I would hate. It was cool. I could travel the world. It was creative. I loved the production aspect of it. WWE, UFC, they have the best production in the world at any type of live events. I love that stuff. So I go, cool. Like, how could I do that? And I was like, well, it's video production. So I started a video production company where I was doing arena sporting events for UFC Fight Pass.
wow.
There's a wrestling company called Ring of Honor. So I got to be in the wrestling business that way. And I started producing sporting events, conferences, MMA, you name it. And I got to travel the country. I was in a different town every week. It was the same exact experience of wrestling, only it wasn't. And I got everything, and I made way more money. It was perfect. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Oh, completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the fundamental elements that you wanted remained, but
Yeah.
in a better way, better
Yeah.
position.
Yeah, so I think that would be, if you guys out there are listening to this, if there's something that you're doing and you feel like you haven't made it, or you lost it, or maybe you had the occupation, you don't have it anymore, or even something as simple as like you're a father or you're a mother and then your kids leave the nest. You're like, well, I'm not a father or mother anymore. They've left. Find out like what that was giving you, love, connection, this or that, and find ways to meet the needs either with the same vehicle in a different way or with a different vehicle. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no, I like
Yeah,
that. That's deep
cool.
and very practical for sure.
Yeah,
Oh, man, I'm excited about this episode. We're starting off deep.
bam.
Good. What was the biggest challenge you faced, would you say? Because I know that that was just part of your journey. Was it finding yourself, kind of building from the bottom?
Man, how deep do you want to go? Okay, so I told you I the wrestling thing didn't pan out. And so I'm trying to figure out what it is that I want to do. I start this video production business. It's going really well. Now, by the way, I had never made more than minimum wage in my life prior to this. I Wrestling was good, but you're trying to make it. They were kind of giving you a stipend here and there. I wasn't making big money doing wrestling. What I was doing before the video production company was I was working minimum wage as a video editor for a radio station. But radio doesn't use any video, so I was the most redundant guy in the building. But it was for whenever they had a band come in, or whenever they had like a famous guest, you would film it for B-roll and put it on the website. So that was my gig. But it was a minimum wage gig. So I start taking this video production thing off, and I was like, I was in the shower, and I had a random idea. I was like, you know what? There's a company called Go Fight Live. I should be Fight Sports HD. That's a cool name. And I just made it up. And all of a sudden, I put myself out there, but my phone started ringing. And all of a sudden, now I started putting out some like feelers, and I started putting out some proposals. And Facebook had a spam filter. I didn't know they had a spam filter. Like, this is so a big company got back to me on Facebook Messenger. I didn't see it, and I finally got it at the last minute. They go, you have like 1 day to respond. So I did. I got the gig. It was the most money I ever made in my life. It was over a 6-figure contract to do this thing. But so
Nice.
it's my first time in my life doing over 6 figures. I'd only made minimum wage, and I'm psyched. And I figured, I'm like, man, minimum wage. This is cool. I'm married to my college sweetheart. Everything is great. I'm finally making money, and it hadn't chunked up yet. It hadn't gesundheit. It hadn't really accumulated yet, but I could do the math. If it's like this for 5, 6, 7 years, like, here's where I'm going to be. I'll be set. We can retire. It's really good, and I was so excited. I remember I walked in to my house to tell my wife at the time, and I looked up and I caught her eyes, and she was gone, like she was glazed over. And what I realized is she had been battling a major addiction for years because her younger brother had died. And so now she's battling an addiction, and I'm trying to tell her the news like, "Hey, we're going to be financially set." She's not there. And so now I'm like, it's like you could have all the success in the world, but you don't have fulfillment, you don't have a good family life, you don't have a good home life, nothing really matters. And I was a people pleaser. I had like nice guy syndrome that I talked about before. I was trying to rescue her, but I wasn't rescuing her effectively. I was like, I'll do whatever it takes to keep you alive type of thing. I wasn't like, hey, I love you and the drinking has to stop. I didn't do it. I should have done it that way. From a loving place, but from a grounded place. But I
I
was
see.
doing it more of like the people pleasing way. Her addiction got worse and worse and worse. It went over the course of years. I was getting dragged through the mud with it. I was trying my best, into rehab, out of rehab, all of that. I don't have any vices except for food at the time, so I'm stress eating like crazy, and I end up 80 pounds overweight, and it's brutal. Now here's the worst part: when it rains, it pours. My biggest client in business was a wrestling company out of Las Vegas, and they were paying me good money, but it was to do a weekly TV show in an arena off the Vegas Strip, so there's a lot of overhead. They started getting later and later on payments.
Oh,
but
no.
but I love the gig so much, and also I knew that if I pulled the plug as the promoter or as the video company, all these wrestlers, it's their dream to be a wrestler. They now had a shot because they were on TV for the first time. I was going to pull the plug on their dream, so I'm like I can eat this for a few months because I'm being the people pleaser again still. Well, they pay me less and less and less and less. Finally, they just stop altogether. They go out of business. Now I'm on the hook for over six figures in overhead
Oh,
because I did not understand that revenue and profit were two different things at the time. And I just kept letting this go and go. So now my wife is in and out of rehab. We're not doing good. I'm massively overweight. My business is tanking. I'm in massive debt now, and every job I do is paying for the job I did previously. Not
what?
even, it's like 6 months ago. I couldn't get out of debt. It was brutal. And so finally, like, push comes to shove, I had to divorce my wife. I didn't like to do it. I felt like I never wanted to abandon anyone,
I
and
understand.
because I was adopted, I didn't want to abandon her, but I had to do what I had to do. It wasn't working. It was good for both of us. So I hit rock bottom around that time, where it's like I was living. My parents had a condo in Florida that they didn't live at, but they owned it. It was like their summer place, and they go, well, you can stay there for a while. The problem is it's a 65 and over retirement community, and I was in my 30s. And so, and the 80-year-old woman that ran the place was terrible, and she had it out for me. She's like, it's against the rules, you're not 60, you know. So
They
i
didn't
had
let
to
you
i
do
had
that?
to so I'm fat, I'm broke, I'm in massive debt, I'm divorced, I have no prospects of business, and now I'm living in my parents' small Florida condo with the lights off because I got to hide from an 80-year-old woman.
Man.
It's not what you would consider the peak of masculinity in your 30s. Do you know what I mean? It was really, really bad. And you would think that's the worst part. It gets a little bit worse than that, but that's where we are now, or that's where we were at the moment. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, absolutely. And that's your story is very inspiring. And I never knew half of these things. I just kind of knew some parts of the big picture. And so I'm really enjoying I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, man. Well, if I can help somebody with this, that's kind of what it's all about. Because I'll share with you, like, the real worst part was I was like, okay, cool. I want to be a mindset coach. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to start putting myself. I was getting certified in every coaching modality in the book because I wanted to help myself. I'm like, I got to get myself out of the situation. I studied hypnotherapy, NLP, coaching. I got certified in everything. I could.
Nice.
I was taking on test clients. They're like, "Hey, thanks, man. I made 30 grand." I'm like, my girlfriend is giving me quarters to pay the tolls. I'm like, this is it. They were getting results. I couldn't help myself.
Wow.
That was the
Interesting.
most frustrating thing. I knew better, but like, knowing better and then doing better is two different things.
Interesting.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so
And
you had a hard time applying it to yourself.
I wasn't applying it to myself, but it's not because I didn't know, and it's not because I wasn't trying. And I'll get there in a moment. Sometimes there are these unconscious things that are holding you back, that are beyond your awareness, that they're sabotaging you, even though you know better.
I see.
And so I ended up with a beautiful girl. She was my girlfriend, and We moved in together, and she was like the light at the end of my tunnel because it was like she's in the personal development, she's bubbly, she's fun, she's the opposite of my ex. It was perfect. The only problem was once we moved in, she's like, "What did I sign up for? You're overweight, you're broke, you're in debt, you're not pulling your weight." I wasn't leading, and she was like, "This has got to change now, or I'm out." And now I'm super panicked because I thought it was okay. Wait a minute, if I change my relationship, it'll be better. Well, I changed my relationship. It's not getting better. Now it got worse. She's going to leave. And now what?
You were trying to change the external, but not the internal.
I'm trying to change the external. The internal hasn't changed. You're exactly right. It's exactly what happened. And so when she started making those, like, hey, I'm thinking about making a move here, that's when I really started to panic. And I'm like, it's got to change now. No one's coming to save me. Like, I got to figure this out myself. And there's a very clear point where I could visualize. I go, I know my potential. I was doing well financially. I was in shape. I was an athlete. I let it all go, but I know if I just do what I know, that's what my potential would lead me to. Why can't I get there? And I realized I go, either in 5 years from now, I'm going to be there, or I'm going to be, hey, I remember Jared. He was a really good guy, had potential. Whatever happened to him?
Man,
And that was so real for me at the time. I started asking myself some different questions. And so what I asked myself was, I go, why am I in this situation? I know better, but I'm not doing what I know. I'm not living my potential. And because I'm asking different questions, not what's wrong with me. I wasn't blaming people because it wasn't going to do any good anymore. I had to like radical honesties, like this is me, something in me doing this. And so I said, this is what I came to. Everything in my life is either because of something I'm doing or something I'm not doing. Okay. So I took it one level deeper. I go, well, why am I either doing things or not doing things? And I go, it's because of my beliefs. It's because of like, I don't believe I can do that or I can't do that or I don't think I'm worthy enough. I like, well, why would I have these beliefs? I go, well, it must be because of who I think I am. I must not think that I'm the person that deserves to have this thing. I go, well, why would I not believe as an identity that I would deserve to have this thing? And I started going deeper and deeper, and I go, it's all the unconscious stuff that got into you as a kid. It's all these stories that are running you that you didn't even choose that got into you by osmosis. And you're like, wait a minute, that's not even mine. And I hear this all the time. Men will say, they go, there's this version of me. It's the real version of me. If I could just figure out how to let it out. And what they're really saying, what I found is there's a version of them that's inside of them that is free from all of their limitations and conditioning from the past.
wow.
It's them without all the BS and the layers. And I go, because I told you before I'm adopted. I go, where does my conditioning come from? I go, because not 1 ounce of me was, I have no genetics from my mom and dad. Do you know what I mean? So I go,
Yeah,
I can't blame genetics. That's weird.
all upbringing, the programming.
Yeah, well, I'm like, I can't blame like DNA because like I'm not technically there's not one fiber of me that's them. So I can't blame my upbringing really. Maybe they didn't like teach me how to like succeed in business because they never owned one. But I go, that's not it. And then I had a really weird revelation. You mentioned Greece before. I go, I was born in Beirut, Lebanon. Okay, so check this out. I was born in Beirut, Lebanon. I go, I didn't come to the United States right away. A woman held me in Greece for 6 months so I could get the passport to come over, right? I go, there's a version of me, an alternate timeline that grew up in Beirut. I go, there's a version of me, an alternate timeline that grew up in Greece. I go, there's a version of me in an alternate timeline that grew up in Fall River, Massachusetts, and then moved to Florida.
Interesting.
I go, how different would I be if I stayed there versus stayed there versus stayed there? I go, how much of that would really be still me versus how much of that would be completely different? And I realized that your identity is complete fiction. I realized your identity is completely a choice, and it's just built on all of the unconscious conditioning you've picked up on, all the limiting decisions, all the limiting beliefs, all the things your mother and father told you. We're not good with money. You got to do that. You look, but even the tiniest things. A girl, you ask your first girl out in kindergarten, and her mother tells her, don't go out with any boys. Tell them that you're their friend and not their boyfriend. And so this little girl innocently goes, I just want to be your friend, not your boyfriend. You lock up that no woman ever wants to talk to me again, and you got to people please. And
Man.
you make a decision. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. Yeah. That programming,
Yeah.
that's powerful.
So I got massively obsessed with, I go, if half of the stuff that's holding me back isn't even mine, how do I get rid of it? And how do I rip off everything that's not mine and just be authentically myself?
Oh
And
yeah.
I got truly obsessed, and I threw every coaching method that I knew that I was certified in at myself because I had to. And I'm like, I'm figuring this out tonight. And I put myself through everything I had to put myself through to learn this. And I got rid of the root cause of what was bothering me. Here's the thing. People think it takes a decade to get rid of problems or change yourself. How fast can you develop a phobia?
Oh, pretty quickly.
It happens in a second. Like you see a dog for the first time and he barks at you and you're scared. You have a
Ooh,
fear of dogs the rest of your life. It happened in a minute. Your brain works both ways, but we don't tell people that. It's not
really?
you can learn something, you can unlearn something just as fast. Has there ever been a time when you were convinced something was real? There was a belief that you had as a kid, or there was like the tooth fairy or something dumb. And then you got older, you had an epiphany, there was a piece of evidence, something popped in your head, and you go, wait a minute, and you never thought of it the same way again.
Absolutely. I didn't realize that it could be just as fast to unlearn. I thought it was a lot of work digging into the subconscious and all of that. Is it?
You
I'm
can
curious to hear this.
Yeah, so it's you can unlearn something just as fast as you learn it if you know where to look and if you know what the process is and reverse engineering what your brain naturally does.
Interesting.
And so here's what it's like. If you can find the root cause of what's holding you back and you can really identify what it is, and so your unconscious mind is always trying to keep you safe. So the reason why it's holding you back from reaching your full potential is because it thinks like, so in my case, if I was adopted, one of my core programs was nobody wants me around, they're going to reject you. So the more I put myself out there, the more I was risking rejection. So why would I put myself out there further? It's a catch 20, it's a complete catch 22,
See the
right?
correlation.
Yeah. But so it's trying to save you, it's trying to help you, but it's not holding on to negative emotions. It's not holding on to the beliefs that's keeping you safe. It's actually a lesson or a learning. So you don't have to be afraid of the stove every time you see it and have a panic attack at the stove because your body knows if the stove is on, I don't touch it. So if you get a lesson or a learning or you're able to get a new perspective on it, all of these limiting beliefs, these conditioning, the things that are holding you back will literally evaporate and you'll remember that it was an issue, you remember that it was happening like it was a thing, but it's like when you wake up from a dream, you go that dream was really strange, I'm happy I'm awake now. You're like, that's not me anymore. And so when I turned that around, the change happened, the internal shift happened in a couple of hours. It happened very, very rapidly. All that it took to take up was, if you want to get in shape, you still have to go to the gym. If you want to, have a business, you have to go get clients, the
Abs-
normal stuff. But the thing is, how much faster would you get results if you're not kneecapping yourself or if you're
Yeah,
not sabotaging yourself every time you try to make progress? Do you know what I mean?
very much quicker. And that is the precursor, I feel like, personally, to everything because that self discovery, that self awareness, and taking it, much, much deeper like you did, I feel like everyone needs to do that. The earlier, the better. I mean, would you agree? That's like the first step to success.
I think that is one of the first steps. Well, first of all, I think if you're there's a point in life where you get old enough where you're like, wait a minute, I should probably let go of some stuff. So I don't know how early you want to start. It'd be great if you never had it in the first place, right? But I think so. Here's what most people do: they think that they have to, they want to make a change. I got to study a lot more stuff. I got to get more information, get more. Not this is all great. I got a New Year's resolution. I want to do this. I want to achieve this thing. I want to lose a bunch of weight or something like that. If you want to lose a bunch of weight, but the reason why you have a weight loss or weight issue is because there's sadness or there's fear or there's trapped emotion or there's repressed anger, no amount of you're going to sabotage yourself. Do you know what I mean? Or
Oh,
if,
yeah, it
if
would be sustainable.
yeah, or if you're protecting yourself, because I mean, I know there are some women out there, they've experienced trauma and they feel like having weight protects them from men. It's a real thing. You know what I mean? Why would you get rid of the thing that's protecting you? So until you get rid of the root cause of what's holding you back, it's really difficult to make progress. But what most people do, they set a goal, they set an outcome, and then what they do is they just start to take massive immediate action on it. And that's great. It's awesome. But if you've noticed, half the time you start and then the progress dies down. Or you
Yes.
two steps forward, one step back, or it's inconsistent. What you want to flip it on its head. You want to remove the, put it this way, it's like you have a bungee cord attached to your back and you're trying to run forward.
Oh, wow.
And so you want to chop the bungee cord off first so there's nothing dragging you. So if you can release whatever your block is first, then the habits, then the goal setting, then the actions will work long term and you won't have to keep restarting.
That makes perfect sense, honestly. It's much more sustainable, nothing's pulling you back. I definitely
100%.
you're making me think about a lot,
Nice. Cool. I hope it's helpful.
for sure. So then you began to break away these things and began to flourish, and at the same time, you started making lifestyle changes?
Yeah, so the first thing I did was I realized I couldn't change my girlfriend's perception of me. Like, so there's stuff I can influence and there's stuff I can control. I can't control another person. I can't control how fast someone hires me for a job. I can't control how fast my business takes off. I can influence these things. I go, the only thing I can control is what I put in my mouth and if I keep promises to myself. So I was so overweight, and I was the guy. I'd make declarations. I'm like, today's the day that I'm going to do it, and I wouldn't do it, or I'd do it for a week and I'd stop. So people were sick of hearing it. So I'm like, I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to very just quietly do this for myself. And I go, I'm going to start going to the gym every day. So stupid for 5 minutes. I'm going to go in. I'm going to do a bicep curl. I'm going to leave because it's so dumb that you'd have to be an idiot to not do that. Do you know what I mean? Like you would have to literally be so lazy that you wouldn't walk in the gym, do 5 minutes, and then leave.
I
So
like that.
I'm gonna go to the gym for 5 minutes and then leave. And then you get there and you're like, well, that's dumb, and you stay for 10. And then I would just keep. I would trick myself by making the win so small that it would like spike dopamine, and I would feel like I was a winner. And
Wow.
so I just stopped. The first thing I did was I wanted to get my health in control because if I can control my health, I could control the rest of my life. And I'd feel a lot better. I'd feel more confident. So the first thing was let me get my health in check. So I started going to the gym every day, 5 minutes a day. It started out like one day a week. Then it was two. Then it was three. Then it continued and I saw progress in my health. And then that built momentum. And then here's the thing though, because I got rid of all the unconscious stuff, things started to work almost naturally. It was like a slingshot effect because I was putting work in and I wasn't sabotaging myself anymore.
And that makes
So
sense.
yeah, so once the health came back, it was like a feedback loop. And they've done studies where they say if you have a physical fitness regimen, it helps out your brain, it helps out with different chemicals in your body, it helps out with like retention. There's a stacking effect where it will help you with more cognition and learning things and doing other things.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
noticed my work life started to improve, my relationship started to improve because I was feeling better about myself, and everything started getting better from there. But it was my health first, and then the rest of it kind of dovetailed and snowballed from there.
Wow, that's powerful. So you started making the necessary changes, you dug deep. I love that you started pursuing those credentials and that knowledge initially,
Yeah.
and then you applied it to yourself after the frustrations of seeing other people succeed and not, being able to apply it yourself. I love that story about you said asking your girlfriend for a change for the toll while you're helping people make thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
It was great. Well, here, so my girlfriend's like, oh, hey, if you need money, like you're certified in coaching and NLP and hypnotherapy, like you should start a coaching business. So all of the people that you work with are getting great results. And she made me a website, and she's ready to press live on. And I told her you got to take it down. She's like, what are
What?
you talking about? I'm like, you got to take it down. She's like, why? I'm like, why? Like, what the hell credentials do I have to coach anybody? I'm like, I'm overweight, I'm broke, I'm living at my parents' house at the time. Like, do you want to fix your life? Me too. Is that my selling proposition? Like, no, I go, take it down. I don't want to do any of that until I fix myself.
You had imposter syndrome. You felt like
It wasn't, well, I mean, I guess you could call it imposter syndrome, but I did not want to be the coach that's teaching you how to be awesome when my life sucked.
I get that. You felt hypocritical.
It was totally hypocritical. So
I
it was the most important thing to me out of my integrity was if I'm going to teach you on how to get your life back on track or how to get to the next level, I need to have done that first. And so
that
there's a
makes
certain level of integrity there for me. Does that make sense?
completely.
Nice.
That makes sense. Wow. So then you took it down, you started putting the work in, you started going to the gym. I love how you scaled it back and took small steps, the smallest step to feel accomplishment, and then little by little your life began to change, and then it snowballed into your business today.
Yeah, so I ended up losing 80 pounds over 80 pounds. I got in the best shape since college. And
Nice.
I'm still continuing to do that. And I'm in my late 30s. So I mean I've sustained it now for 5 years. Like once I did it once, I'm like, oh, I hope it doesn't go back. It never went back. I got completely out of debt. And then I started making six figures again in revenue. But here I wanted to do it not in coaching because everybody's like, oh, I'm going to teach you how to start. Well, all these people made their money by doing the thing they're coaching you on. So I'm like, I want to make six figures in something not related to coaching first, so I can be like, do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yes, because there's so many people that it's the same thing.
It's the
You
same thing.
wanted to have that as, you know, people respect it, people, admire that, and
Yeah.
then you teach them how.
Yeah. Well, you just made money because you're coaching people, right? That's, no, I want to do it somewhere else first. So I made six figures in revenue again, doing something completely unrelated to coaching. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I was able to do that. I had massive nice guy syndrome, people pleasing syndrome. Not that being a good man is wrong, but when you're a doormat and you let people walk all over you, it's not cool. So I had to really figure out, how do I show up as a man in a relationship? And so I transformed how I showed up as a person inside a relationship, and that transformed how they relate to me. And it's been really cool. Like, so my relationships, like, we're growing, we're learning all the time. And I really wanted to make sure that I had mastered my side of the street before I went out there to help other people. I didn't fully know what I did though. I'm like, I did it, but I don't know how I did. I just threw everything at the wall and tried to make it happen. My girlfriend's like, you got to reverse engineer this. You got to figure out what you did.
Smart.
So I sat down and I'm like, well, what did I do? In what order and what sequence? And then I'm like, can I try this on you? Because so she had some money issues at the time. She couldn't make any more than about $30,000 a year or less in her business. And we're trying to figure out why. And she's trying to make more. Turns out every dime she ever made after a certain age was from an inheritance, was from somebody in her family that died. And so she linked up making money equals people that I love die. So it was unsafe for her to make money. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
That
There's such much as correlation.
that's how everybody has something like this. I'm convinced everybody has something like this. So I put her through the process, what I figured out on myself for her money thing. Her business takes off.
Wow.
It's crazy. She did like $1,000 month like a couple months ago. It
Amazing.
was crazy. So for her, that's significantly more than she had ever done before. So I'm like, well, if it worked for her, let me try. So I started like, hey, one of my friends, do it with him. He got the same results. So I started doing it with one or two people here and there that I knew. They got results. I started putting it out there. I did it with like one or two people a week or a month. It started to work. Now it's grown to like 3, 4, 5 people a month I've been doing this with. And I've been doing it for 2 years now. At first I was like, I wonder if this is going to be something where they do it once and then they backslide, they never do it again. Because you're getting into the root cause of what's causing someone a problem. It's like you're going in, taking the splinter or the thorn out, and then the body heals itself. And so I'll come back 2 years later and I'll be like, hey, how's everything going? And they'll talk to me. And I have a whole history form that I do on them. And I have like, here's what their mission in life is and here what their new beliefs are. Even if they forget about it, in 99% of the cases, they are exactly what they were saying they wanted to do 2 years ago. They're doing it.
Wow,
And
man, that's powerful.
it's their unconscious autopilot at this point, and it's crazy. And they say it continues to improve, and it continues to, because it's like when you remove it, you start to grow. And so, like the things that they were afraid of before, now they're moving towards it, and they don't have the issues anymore. It's been really, really cool.
That's amazing. You basically reprogram their mindset.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I don't have to reprogram anything. If I can get rid of the block, I believe everybody's doing the best they can with what they have available to them. And if you remove the block, it's just like you don't have to do anything to heal a wound. You just have to remove the thing that's in you,
I
right?
s-
Well, if I can help you get to the root of what's blocking you mentally, I really don't have to teach you much. People already know what to do. They're just not doing it. I
yes.
think there's all a sense. Everybody has a sense of morality in some way. Everybody knows a sense of right from wrong, or everybody knows like they should be doing something, but they're not doing it. If you remove what's blocking you, usually automatically everything will align, and you'll be where you need to be. Or in the worst case scenario, the most thing that would happen would be you feel good, you're aligned, but you didn't have any exposure to something. So you need a little bit of exposure to something to learn the concept,
I see.
right? Like if you got rid of all of your health beliefs, but no one ever taught you about diet, you'd probably want to learn about diet, you know?
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be blocked from taking the action anymore.
I see. How do you, if everybody has, subconscious blocks, how do you identify them with whatever practice you have? I know you might not be able to go into too much detail.
Yeah,
Whatever you
I'll
you can
go
do.
I'll go into it as much detail as I can. If you have a paper and pen there, right? Because I don't have the benefit of graphics on the screen, right? So, but this is crazy. Now, I didn't figure this out because I'm so smart. I figured this out because I was desperate and I had no way out, and I had to figure something out. And I was just very, very, very curious about how my brain worked. Okay, so I'm not like some super special, super genius or anything like that. I'm not lucky. I just was desperate and I was up against the wall and I had to figure it out. But so here's what I figured out. There's every human being has a model of reality. Okay, so me and you might be looking at the same thing, but we get radically different results. I was just watching Arnold Schwarzenegger's Netflix documentary, and they grew up in the same house in Austria, and he ended up being Arnold Schwarzenegger, and his brother ended up being an alcoholic, and he died in a drunk driving accident.
Wow,
And he said, you can grow up in the same environment, and one person can put one meaning, another person can put the other meaning.
that's true.
So your model of reality is totally different from person to person, even in the same circumstance. Okay? So this is what your model of reality is. Everybody has 7 levels of this. And I've called it the 7 levels of self mastery because it's a cool name. So number 1 is your purpose. So everyone has a purpose in life or a mission in life, or maybe they don't have one yet, but there's something that you're after. Like I told you, my purpose was I want to be a pro wrestler. It wasn't a really good one because if you lose it, then you have no purpose in life. But there's always something that we're aiming towards, most likely. Or if not, that's probably one of the main issues, not something that you're moving towards, right? So number 2 is you have purpose. Then underneath that, you have your identity. It's who you believe you are. Tony Robbins talks about the strongest force in the human personality is the need to remain consistent with how you define yourself, with how you identify yourself. So if you say I'm a winner, you'll be more confident. If you're like, well, I'm a fat guy, I'm a loser, I'm always, I'm unlucky. You get whatever you attach I am to. So whatever you say I am to, you become. But here's the problem. Some people, they go, a part of me, there's a version of me that does the right thing, and there's a version of me that doesn't. They have like an internal identity struggle. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
So their internal identity is fighting themselves. And then so number 3, that's your mindset. And so your mindset, there's 2 facets to that. There's your beliefs and your values. Everybody knows about limiting beliefs. Everybody can talk about them, but here's what nobody really understands. Your beliefs aren't just from your beliefs. Your beliefs stem from your values. And if you don't change your value, and values aren't like a list of things that you think are cool and sound good, it's your unconscious programming. If you don't change the value, the belief will keep coming back.
interesting.
Okay?
This is fascinating.
So 1, 2, 3, mindset. Number 4 is your emotions or your state. That's how you feel day to day. That's your emotional energy. But number 5 is your skills or your resources or like your knowledge, what you have access to. Number 6 finally is your habits and actions or behaviors. And number 7 is your environment or your conditioning.
Makes
Okay.
sense. The
So
flow.
so everybody has all 6 of these, but they're usually stacked. The ones that are higher up have more influence in the long term over the ones lower. But here's how most people set up their life. They allow their early environment where they grew up and their conditioning to just control what they do. We talked about how when I grew up, I was in college. If I don't leave now, I'm going to keep being like everybody else around here. They just stay in their local environment, or they let their early conditioning, like what their parents taught them or what their parents, like, oh, my parents weren't really that good to me, and they were kind of, they weren't that great of parents, and so they let that hold them back. And so that controls, or my dad was a smoker, my mom was a smoker, so they just let their conditioning control their habits and their actions.
Makes
or
sense.
they're or they're just modeling the behavior from their parents. Oh, well, my dad never really started a business, he just worked for 40 years, right? Okay, so I'm going to do that. They just model the behavior of their family. So they let their conditioning or their environment control what they do. And then they let their circumstances control. Oh, I don't have the resources, don't have the time, don't have the money, don't have the right education. And then they let whatever happened to them in the past control their emotions. I'm depressed because of something that happened to me when I was 6, what my dad did or my mom did, right? So now their mindset, they have beliefs and their mindset's all skewed because of their emotions, because of what they're doing, because of their habits, because it's all stuff from the past. And so they can't really become the real version of themselves or live the purpose they want to have because they're being dragged down by all of the rest of this stuff.
That makes sense. No, this is so fascinating because
Yeah,
it flows and everything you're saying makes perfect sense.
yeah. So this is what I figured out, and this was mind blowing to me. I'm like, everything that there's a version of me, and it was me. I was helping a bunch. My purpose was to help people. Even when I was a wrestler, I wanted to wrestle because some other wrestler wrote an autobiography saying, "Hey, I was a geeky kid and I made it to the WWE and won the championship." Like, oh, cool! I want to retire and write a book and help somebody someday. So even my purpose was always wrestling, or was to help people.
I
So that
see.
that never went away. But I go, my identity, I'm a loser. I'm a failure. I'm washed up. I lost all my money. I lost my marriage. I'm like, okay, so I don't believe I'm the person that can live that. Well, okay, so my identity's off. That means, well, so what am I saying? Well, I believe that it's hard to change. I believe this. I believe that. There's all this stuff that's so okay. Well, where does that come from? Well, that's all my behaviors. Well, where does that come from? Well, that all comes from my conditioning and my environment. So this is what I found out. If you can find out what happened and get a real good like read on what the story is, if you release the root cause of your conditioning, what happens is the trapped emotions resolve themselves. And if the trapped emotions resolve themselves, all your limiting beliefs and mindset is just a result of feeling bad or angry or whatever. Your beliefs are like, oh, well, I'm not successful. I'm never going to be lucky. Well, because you have a trapped emotion that says that you're never going to be lucky. There's something that happened that made you feel sad. So if you release the conditioning, the emotions release. If you release the emotions, the mindset shifts automatically. And if the mindset shifts, the identity aligns. And so you can confidently live your purpose or at least create one. And that's what I was talking about. Like people say, there's a version of me that's really me if I could just live it. They're saying if I could just get rid of all the blocks in this 7 stack here that's holding me back from living what I want to live.
So powerful. And I love how you say release the emotions. You have to uncover the emotions that are trapped from that period of time in your life and kind of unblock that. And then, man, wow, I have so many questions. So they can go through those 7 steps. Would you say that it would be best with being guided by someone like you, or can they do that on their own?
You could try to do it on your own. I'm not saying that you couldn't. I'm saying it's going to be incredibly difficult, and it's like you don't exactly always know where to look, and it's
Yes,
hard to do brain surgery on yourself.
true.
And like I started doing this, it took me a minute. Like I've had to perfect this over a while. I was able to make significant progress the first time that I tried to do this. But as time went on, and I talked to a lot of this is like just stuff that I did on my own, but
Oh
I'm
yeah.
borrowing from mentors and things like that. They showed me ways like, oh, you can do this so much faster. And what if you tried it this way? What if you ordered it that way and sequenced it? So I've got it down now to the point where I can literally help somebody do this in 6 hours over the course of 3 days. We take 2 hours a day, we do 3 days, boom, this whole thing gets aligned. And then you follow up with them long term to make sure they're still good. But I mean, you can try it on your own, which it could probably work if you know exactly what to do. But I would just say, just handle it, you know?
Yes, no, absolutely. And I would say it just makes more sense to work with you. That's like me, in personal training, me giving someone a program who has no idea how to work out and just being like, good luck. So no, that makes sense. Wow, that's amazing what you do.
Thank you,
So
man.
cool. And I want to,
It's an honor to help people with it too.
yeah, I can imagine how fulfilling it is to see their lives change. And I wanted to actually go back and ask you with nice guy syndrome, how would you define that? Is that a lack of boundaries, or how would you define that?
So Dr. Robert Glover has a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy. He has the best definition of it that I see. A nice guy syndrome, it comes from toxic shame. It comes from like excessive shame and where your needs weren't met as a child, where either you were trying to get love or get attention and your mother, your father, somebody wasn't there. And it creates a story. And the story is if I only give more of myself, if I only sacrifice myself more, if I only do more, if I'm always available, and if I never have any needs of my own, then someone will finally notice me and give me my needs.
Interesting.
And so what happens though is you'll notice this. There's a lot of guys, and if there's any women listening, you'll always meet a guy who's a really, really good guy who wants to be your friend. But then one day he gets really mad at you out of the blue because you don't want to be his girlfriend or something like that. And that's because he was thinking, if I just keep constantly being nice to you, one day you're going to be like, you're going to meet my needs. And they flip out. And so Dr. Robert Glover was saying goes, nice guy syndrome is actually the biggest covert, he calls it a covert contract. He's like, you're not being nice to be a sincerely good person. You're being nice to be manipulative because you don't think you can actually ask for what you want.
Interesting.
It's the biggest flip. You're like, it's like you would be much more truthful if you came from an authentic, grounded, rooted place than if you were trying to manipulate somebody by like, oh, let me always be there for you all the time and over sacrifice and over give for myself. There's a difference between being a nice guy and a good man. I think be there for people, help people out, be a heart centered guy. But when you're doing it out of, if I don't do this, then, the world is ending and there's like, you can tell the difference. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like conditional or just being who you are in
Yeah.
a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And that
Wow.
usually comes from shame. That's like, so there was a gentleman I worked with. My story was adoption, but for him, he was like 4, 5 years old and he was the only child. And then his parents had another kid. It was a daughter. And as a kid, you cry out for attention. And then they took just a little bit too long to pay attention to him. And as a kid, he couldn't manage his emotions. Like, oh my God, they want my sister more than me. Hang on, I got to be a nice people. And so we started trying to please his mom and dad to get more attention. But here's the thing, the way the brain works, whatever gets into you first, because it's successful, it locks in place. Your brain wants to keep you safe and keep you alive. So if you've ever done a strategy and it worked and you're still alive, your brain goes, that's a good strategy. I'm going to keep doing it. So if you were afraid your mom and dad were ignoring you, and then you start people pleasing, and then your mom gives you attention, your brain goes, that's a good strategy. I'm still alive. I got my needs met. And now it's not even a conscious choice anymore. It's your autopilot.
I see.
So you want to you want to rewrite that initial first time you made a decision, make a new decision, and then it's like dominoes fall down.
I see. And the first, like, would you say the first like 7 years of a child's life is like that programming?
Yep. Yep, because your brain is at a different wavelength yet. They did studies. So hypnosis, hypnotherapy and all that, that works because when you relax, your brain goes into a different brainwave state that's more receptive to change. Okay? When you're 0 to 7, you're naturally in that state all the time. So everything is getting downloaded into you 0 to 7 because you're in that receptive brainwave state. When you get to be like 7, 8, 9, that's and then you start to hit puberty. Your brain chemistry changes. It doesn't happen as easy, right? But they've done studies like on the brain monitor and things like that. It's the same wavelength under hypnosis as when you're a baby that young. So you're just downloading everything that happens to you.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Man, I have so many questions, so many avenues we can take this down. That is so cool. I've got to say, seeing your journey over the years has been so inspirational. I can't remember where we met. I remember we worked somewhere.
Was it Bridgewater State College?
I can't remember if it was a restaurant. I know I worked with you for a short period of time, and
Yeah.
then we somehow got connected. I think I got your number, like to keep in touch. And then I saw you on social media over the years, and I saw your
Yeah.
journey. I don't know if it was like at the same Regis in Miami or somewhere in Sarasota.
I remember, but I don't know the exact place either. But I remember it goes way back, and we've kind of always been connected for a few, maybe even a few decades.
Yeah, yeah. I can't even remember, but it just popped in my head because I remember seeing your journey, and I do remember seeing some of the wrestling stuff. Now that I think about it, and so inspirational. That's so cool.
Thanks, man. It's been a while. None of these things connect in any way, and it's the oddest life ever. But it turned out pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. So now you have a community of men, and you help them take control back of their lives and everything else you shared.
100%. So I got a Facebook group. Well, there's a website too. It's w.selfmasteryformen.com. It works for women too. I just branded men because I figure men, I'm a guy. I went through it. I can talk the talk and help you guys out. But it's not like the process would work the same for women. But it's selfmasteryformen.com. I have a Facebook group. There's like 1,500 people in there right now and growing. It's one of the most supportive environments for men. We help each other out. Facebook.com/group/selfmasteryformen. And I work with people. I do 3 days one-on-one with them, 2 hours a day. I put them through a similar process of what we talked about here, and we get to the root cause of what's been holding them back, how to get beyond that. We take a detailed personal history. They see on the page what's like, here's your unconscious autopilot, and here's why you're getting the results that you're getting. So just that enough is sometimes enough to make a shift. But we go 20 levels deeper because we remove all that stuff. And when we come back on day 3, they look back at what they said on day 1 and they go, that doesn't even apply to me anymore. It's literally, it's that much night and day. So if they're interested in that, like, feel free. I have a 15-minute phone call where we can talk about it, see what's going on with you.
Nice. And I'll make sure I tag. We'll have a couple of weeks before this episode launches. I'll make sure I reach out to you prior to get those links. I can tag all those links and everything so they can directly contact you.
Awesome.
And I'll let you know, the date before we launch as well. Got about a few minutes left. Is there anything else you wanted to share, or I could ask you a couple other questions? But this stuff is so interesting that I don't even want to interrupt.
Feel free to ask me whatever you want, man. I'm an open book.
Okay. With your throughout your journey, was that the biggest obstacle when you hit rock bottom and you're taking that first step with mindset? Was that like, learning how to apply that stuff on yourself? Was that the biggest challenge and turning point?
It's like, be careful what you ask for, because I asked for absolute mastery over myself. Not for fame, not for significance, but because I wanted to really figure out like why people work the way that they work. And I wanted to figure out how can I reach my full potential myself. And I thought it was going to be like, oh, I'll read it in a book, I'll go to a seminar, I'll figure it out, and I'll crush it. I'll have mastery. And the universe is like, okay, cool. You signed up for the hard course. All this stuff is going to happen to you. So I just kind of always believed that all of that stuff was happening to me so that I would have to learn some really difficult lessons. But no matter what happened to me, I made it mean what can I learn from this that I can then turn around and then apply to use this to help somebody else. So no matter what was happening, for some reason I just made it a learning lesson. I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to figure this out? It sucked. It was not fun. But the thing that kept me going was, well, how can I turn around and then learn the lesson from this and help somebody? So that's what kept me going. And it was even more than that. Like, I knew there was a version of me that existed. And I literally, what I did is, I'm like, if I pull him into me now, how would he stand? How would he carry himself? What would he have to believe? And I embodied the future self as if it was now, and I stepped into it, and I breathed the way that I would breathe, and I stood the way that I would stood, and I changed my posture, and I noticed, and I started trying to like really embody that guy. And when I did, it's like I realized, I'm like, here's the gap, here's what I have to do. And I just started making decisions every day that was more closely aligned with that guy than how I had been acting.
Wow. You make it sound so simple to take those small steps to become more of who you want to be, basically. That's powerful, man. Love
It's simple, it's incredibly simple, but simple and then executing it is sometimes two different things.
it. Absolutely.
And the only thing that was preventing me from executing it, though, was all of the stories from the past. They say the only thing holding you back from having what you want to have is the story you're telling yourself about why you can't have it.
Wow.
And I agree. The only problem is the story that you're telling yourself is the story that you're telling yourself unconsciously, and you didn't even choose it half the time. So if you can clear that story, everything else, I believe, is a million times easier.
Makes sense. I'm definitely gonna rewatch this episode and take notes. And I'm definitely gonna reach out to you in the near future to work with you as well.
Let's do it, man.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Last question on my part is if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
It's a really good question. What advice would I give you? That's a really good question, because it's like the butterfly effect thing. It's like, if you change one thing, what else would change?
True.
I think
Good way to think about it.
I'll give you an example of this. There was my girlfriend one time. I did that process with her I told you about, and she was like, she remembered being a young kid, and she remembered like being on the swing set somewhere, and she was like, I could almost swear that there was a presence with me that day that was like watching me, and like I could feel there was nobody there, I could feel it. And I remember when I was doing the process with her to help her get rid of her money stuff, she went back to that moment on the swing and she was observing herself. And she's like, I wonder if I felt myself back then. Like it was really kind of I got goosebumps when I said that. So it's almost like I feel like I've done that because I've gone back, I've looked at some of the events of my life, and I got a new lesson, I got a new meaning on that. But if I were to say anything, I would be like, whatever is going through when you're young, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. And who you are now is a sum total of everything that's happened to you in the past, but it's also what you believe about the future. So you're going to see how all of this has been working for you rather than against you, and you can turn all this around to be some of your greatest strengths if you allow it to.
For sure. Man, that's so interesting that she said that she felt a presence. And when you think of time, doesn't everything all exist technically at the same time? So all these different potential paths and, like I don't know how to explain it, but that almost makes sense.
This is, I'll leave at this. What I've figured out is who you are now in the present moment is the sum total of everything that happened to you in the past, but it's also what we believe about the future. Because if you have a car and you're in the GPS and you put in one destination, it changes the route. You put in a different destination, it changes the route. So it's not just your past, it's also your assumption and belief about your future. And they both come and affect you from the past and the future now. And it's affecting how you're showing up. The only
Absolutely.
problem is what people do is they take the past, they project it onto the future, and they assume it's always going to be the same. If you can clear the lens of the past and then put what you want in your future instead and see it clear, have that clear vision of it, you're going to start to take radically different actions in the present. So that's kind of how I look at time.
I like that. No, that all makes sense. Man, so much to unpack with this whole episode.
I dropped the mother load on you, man. My bad. Sorry, bro.
No, 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 no. It's amazing. Really. I'm gonna go back and watch it, take notes, like I said. And you've provided so much value in this episode. People are gonna love it.
Awesome.
You're really gonna help a lot of people, and I'm sure people will reach out to you as well.
Awesome.
No, I appreciate it. Man, thank you, Jared.
Jonathan, thank
Uh,
you.
That's it for episode 18, I believe I said. Stop.